Welcome to the Boring Podcast. Tonight we'll calmly talk through something that happened, perhaps, or didn't. If this helps you drift off, we've done our job. Feel free to do nothing at all.
Yes, indeed. We're here to discuss something quite ordinary, something you might encounter in your daily life, or perhaps not. We're not here to excite or entertain, but rather to gently lull you into a state of peaceful relaxation. Tonight we'll be discussing, in a very calm and measured way, the proper method, if there is one, for winding extension cords. These ubiquitous yet often overlooked lengths of electrical cabling, often found coiled haphazardly in garages or sheds, deserve our attention, however fleeting. They are, after all, a part of our modern existence. Or something like that.
Extension cords. Yes, those long, sometimes orange, sometimes brown, sometimes even green, cables we use to bring power to our devices, our tools, our lights. They come in various lengths, from quite short to remarkably long, stretching across gardens, up walls, and sometimes even dangling precariously from windows. We often find them tangled, knotted, and generally unkempt. A rather unsightly mess, wouldn't you say? Though perhaps not always. Sometimes they are neatly coiled, ready for use. And that's what we'll be discussing. The coiling, the winding, the proper, or perhaps improper, way to manage these lengths of electrical conduit.
The act of winding an extension cord. A seemingly simple task, yet one that can be approached with varying degrees of care and precision. Some might simply bunch the cord up, a haphazard approach leading to a tangled mess the next time it's needed. Others might employ a more methodical approach, carefully looping the cord into a neat coil. There are, perhaps, subtle nuances to this seemingly mundane activity. We'll explore these nuances, these subtle variations in technique, in a calm and deliberate manner. We will dissect, as it were, the art, if it can be called an art, of winding an extension cord. Or maybe not, we'll see.
One might simply grab the cord, perhaps in the middle, and begin wrapping it around their elbow and hand, creating a loop, then another, and another, until the entire length is bundled. This method, while efficient, can sometimes result in kinks and tangles. It's a quick solution, certainly, but not necessarily the most elegant. Or is it? Perhaps the simplicity is its own form of elegance. We'll ponder this. We'll consider the merits of the quick and dirty method versus the more deliberate, more careful approaches. We'll leave no stone unturned, so to speak, in our exploration of this topic. Or perhaps we will. We shall see.
There's also the over-under method, where one alternates looping the cord over the hand, then under, creating a figure-8 pattern. This technique is said to prevent tangling and allows for smoother unwinding. Or so they say. But who are they anyway? Experts, perhaps? Or just people who have opinions on the matter? We'll delve into the supposed benefits of this over-under technique, examining its purported advantages over the simpler, more haphazard approach. Is it truly superior? Or is it just a more complicated way to achieve the same result? These are the questions that keep us up at night. Or perhaps not. Perhaps we sleep quite soundly.
Then there's the question of where to store the coiled cord. Some prefer to hang it on a hook, while others might place it in a bin or on a shelf. The choice of storage location can impact the longevity of the cord. A damp environment, for example, might lead to corrosion or other undesirable effects. Or perhaps not. It depends on the material of the cord, the specific environmental conditions, and a host of other factors. We'll consider these factors, these variables, in our discussion, exploring the optimal storage solutions for your extension cords. Or at least, we'll start to consider them. We have plenty of time, after all. This is a long, slow, and deliberate exploration of a very mundane topic.
And what about the different types of extension cords? There are indoor cords and outdoor cords, heavy-duty cords and lighter-duty cords. Each type may require a slightly different approach to winding and storage. A thick, heavy-duty cord might be more difficult to coil neatly than a thin, lightweight cord. Or perhaps not. It depends on the specific characteristics of the cord, its flexibility, its weight, and so on. We'll explore these variations, these subtle differences in cord construction, and how they might influence the optimal winding technique. We'll consider the pros and cons of each approach, weighing the benefits against the potential drawbacks. Slowly, methodically, and with great attention to detail, or lack thereof. Perhaps.
Now let's consider the extension cord itself. Often orange, sometimes yellow, occasionally black, but mostly orange. This long, rubbery, or sometimes plastic ANSI cable, cylindrical in shape, can be found coiled up, often near power tools or holiday decorations. It's designed to, well, extend the reach of electricity, from a wall socket to, say, a lamp that's just a bit too far away. Or perhaps a power drill out in the yard. Yes, a power drill. Or a hedge trimmer. The possibilities are almost endless, really. Almost, but not quite. We'll get into that later, perhaps. But for now, picture the cord. Coiled, often dusty, sometimes tangled. Yes, tangled. That's a problem we'll address later. Much later. But for now, just the cord. Orange. Or yellow. Or maybe black. Coiled. Waiting.
And the coil itself. It's not just a random jumble, not usually anyway, though it can be. Sometimes it's a tight, neat circle, sometimes a loose, meandering loop. Sometimes it's just a tangled mess, really. We've all been there. But ideally, it's a neat coil, wound carefully, perhaps by someone who takes pride in these things. Or maybe just someone who wants to avoid a tangled mess later on. A wise person, either way. The coil sits there, inert, potential energy waiting to be unleashed. Not electrical potential energy, mind you, but the potential to become untangled and stretched out, reaching across the room, bridging the gap between power and appliance. A noble purpose, really. Or at least a practical one.
Now think about the ends of the cord. There's the male end, with the prongs, designed to fit snugly into the female end of the wall socket, or perhaps another extension cord. And there's the female end, the receptacle, waiting to receive the male end of the appliance. Or, again, perhaps another extension cord, a chain of power, stretching across the land. Or at least, across the room. These ends, these connectors, they're crucial. They're the gateways, the intermediaries, the points of contact between potential and realization. Think about that for a moment. The potential and the realization in there. It's almost philosophical, isn't it? Almost. But not quite.
And the material of the cord. Often rubber, as we mentioned. Sometimes plastic. But let's focus on rubber for a moment. That pliable, slightly springy material. It bends, it gives, but it also resists. It holds its shape, more or less. It's designed to withstand the rigors of being coiled and uncoiled, stretched and retracted, stepped on, and, occasionally, chewed on by pets. We don't recommend that, by the way. Chewing on the cord, it's not safe, but it happens. And the rubber, it endures, a testament to its resilience. Or perhaps just a testament to good manufacturing. Either way, it's impressive. In its own quiet way.
Now, back to the color. Orange. Why orange? It's a question that has plagued philosophers and electricians for centuries. Okay, maybe not centuries, but it is a question, a valid question. Perhaps it's for visibility, so you can see it easily and avoid tripping. Or maybe it's just an aesthetic choice. A splash of color in an otherwise drab world, who knows? The mysteries of the universe are vast and unknowable. Like the vastness of space, or the depths of the ocean. Or the reasons behind the color choices of extension cords. It's something to ponder. As you drift off to sleep.
The weight of the cord. Not heavy, not usually, but not weightless either. It has a certain heft, a presence in your hand. You can feel it, coiled in your grasp, a tangible reminder of the power it contains. Or rather, the power it can convey. It's a conduit, a channel, a pathway for the flow of electricity, from the wall, to the lamp, to the power drill, to the hedge trimmer, and so on. The possibilities, as we mentioned, are almost endless. Almost. But not quite. I'll get to that later. Much later.
The texture of the cord. Smooth, mostly, but sometimes ribbed. Sometimes with a slight pattern. A subtle texture. Almost imperceptible. But it's there. If you run your fingers along it, you can feel it. A slight roughness. A subtle variation in the surface. It's a detail. A small detail, but it's there. And it's important, in its own small way. It's part of the overall experience of the extension cord. The tactile experience. the sensory input. It's all part of the whole. Whole, coiled, orange or yellow or black extension cord.
And the smell. Yes, the smell. That faint, slightly plastic, hazy, sometimes rubbery aroma. It's not unpleasant, not exactly. But it's there. A subtle olfactory presence. A reminder of the material, the manufacturing process, the journey from factory to home. It's a smell that evokes images of workshops, garages, and dimly lit basements. Places where things are built, things are repaired, things are powered by extension cords. Orange, yellow, or black. Coiled, waiting, ready to serve their purpose.
Now, as we were saying, or rather, as we will be saying again, there's a specific, not particularly interesting, way to wind these extension cords. The long orange or sometimes black kind, the ones that get tangled if you're not careful, or even if you are careful sometimes. It involves, as we've covered, sort of a looping motion, a gentle back and forth, over and under, not too tight, not too loose, just, winding. We'll get into more detail about this winding shortly, after a brief pause. Not for dramatic effect, but just because. We've been talking for a while now about this winding, and there's still more winding to discuss.
Yes, the winding. The act of taking something long and making it less long, in a coiled way. Not shorter, mind you, just more compact. More manageable. Like arranging a long piece of string, or yarn, or perhaps even a very thin rope, into a neat little bundle. It's not thrilling, this winding, but it is, arguably, necessary. Especially if you don't enjoy tripping over things, which, let's face it, most people don't. Or at least I don't. Tripping is disruptive. Winding helps prevent tripping. That's why we're talking about winding. This winding of the extension cord.
So, this over-under method, this looping technique, it's not complicated, not in the least. Picture, if you will, and only if you have the energy to do so, your hand gently guiding the cord back and forth, creating a loop, then another loop, and then another, each loop resting neatly beside the last, forming a coil. A coil of extension cord. It's not rocket science, it's just winding. And we're still talking about it, the winding. Of the cord, the extension cord.
We're aiming for a controlled, relaxed approach to this winding. No sudden movements, no jerky tugs. Just a smooth, almost hypnotic rhythm. Back and forth, over and under. Imagine the cord as a very long, very flexible thing. A thing that needs to be wound. And you are the winder. The master of the cord. The winding. Well, you get the idea. Winding. That's what we're doing. Or rather, that's what we're talking about doing. The winding.
This method, this winding method, as we've discussed, perhaps ad nauseum, helps to prevent tangles. Those frustrating knots and snarls that make using the extension cord a a mild inconvenience. Nobody enjoys untangling cords. It takes time, it takes effort, and frankly, it's just not very stimulating. Winding, on the other hand, while not exactly thrilling, is at least preventative. Preventative of tangles. That's the key takeaway here. Winding prevents tangles.
Imagine the frustration, the mild, low-grade frustration of encountering a tangled extension cord. You want to use it, but it's all knotted up. You have to spend precious minutes, perhaps even hours, untangling it. All that time, wasted. All that effort, expended. All because you didn't wind it properly. Winding, you see, is important. We can't stress that enough. Well, we can, but we won't. We'll just keep calmly explaining it. This winding. Of the cord.
Now, there are, of course, other methods of winding. Some people might just sort of bunch it up, or wrap it around their elbow, or toss it in a heap. But these methods, while perhaps quicker, are not optimal. They lead to tangles. And tangles, as we've established, are not ideal. So, we wind the cord, the extension cord, methodically, carefully, calmly.
So let's recap. We're talking about winding an extension cord, using a specific method, the over-under method, the looping technique, to prevent tangles. It's a simple process, really. Not very exciting, but necessary. And that, in essence, is the crux of the matter. Winding. The cord. The extension cord. It's a thing we do. Or talk about doing. On this podcast. The Boring Podcast.
Now, where were we? Ah, yes, the over-under method. It's a popular one, and for good reason. Or perhaps no reason at all. You see, you take the end of the extension cord, the male end, that is, the one that plugs into the wall or the power source, and you hold it in your hand, preferably your dominant hand, but either will do. Then, you make a loop. Not too big, not too small, just a loop. A medium-sized loop. And you hold that loop with your other hand, naturally. This establishes the foundation, the base, the starting point, so to speak, of the winding process. It's crucial, or maybe not, I sometimes wonder. My neighbor's cat likes to sit on the windowsill and stare at me while I do yard work. I don't know why.
Right, the loop. The foundational loop. It's the first step, the initial maneuver in a series of maneuvers. You've got that loop in one hand, and the rest of the cord, the unwound portion, is still dangling, just hanging there in the air, or maybe resting on the ground. It just sort of exists. It's waiting. It's waiting to be wound. Like a patient waiting for their appointment. Sometimes, when I'm waiting, I think about how much time I spend waiting. It's a lot of waiting. I wonder if they make heated bird baths. It gets quite cold in the winter, even for birds.
Now, with that first loop firmly, or not so firmly, grasped in one hand, you bring the remaining cord over that loop, over and under. Hence the name, over-under. It's descriptive, isn't it? Very descriptive, or perhaps not. Words can be so strange sometimes. Like, the word moist? I don't know why, but I just don't like that word. Anyway, you create another loop, adjacent to the first, a neighboring loop, and you hold it in place. This forms the second stage, the second phase, of the winding process. I saw a squirrel bury a nut in my yard the other day. I wonder if it will remember where it buried it.
And so you repeat. Over, under, over, under. It's a rhythmic motion, a repetitive action. It's almost meditative. Or maybe it's just boring. It depends on your perspective, I suppose. One could argue that there is a certain zen-like quality to the repetitive nature of the task. Or one could argue that it's simply a tedious chore. It's all a matter of how you look at it, I suppose. My grocery store rearranged their shelves again. It's very disorienting.
The cord, it's getting shorter now, as you wind. The unwound portion diminishes with each loop, each over-under maneuver. It's a gradual process, a slow and steady transformation, distangling, length shrinks, while the coiled portion grows. It's almost like magic, or just basic physics. I can't decide which. I should probably organize my spice rack. It's a mess.
And eventually, you reach the end. The very end of the cord, the female end, the one that connects to the appliance, the tool, the whatever it is that needs powering. You've reached the terminus, the final point, the culmination of the winding process. It's finished, complete, done. Or is it? There's always the Velcro strap. I never know what to do with the little plastic piece at the end of the bread bag.
Ah, yes, the Velcro strap. The essential finishing touch. The securing element. You wrap it around the coiled cord, snugly. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. Goldilocks would approve. It keeps the cord neatly bundled, preventing tangles and knots. It's a small but important detail. A crucial component of proper cord management. I think I need new windshield wipers.
And there you have it. A properly wound extension cord. Ready to be stored, transported, or utilized. A testament to the power of organization, or perhaps just a coiled-up piece of wire. It all depends on how you look at it. I wonder what time it is. Probably late. Or maybe not.
Now, let's just take a moment to retrace our steps, so to speak, and revisit the initial stages of extension cord winding. We began, if you recall, with the plug, not just any plug, mind you, but the male end of the extension cord. The one with the prongs. The kind you insert into the receptacle. It's important to grasp the plug firmly, but not too firmly. Just a gentle but secure grip, enough to control its movement. And as you hold it, consider the journey it's about to take. A circular journey. A winding path toward a state of compact organization. It's a simple process, really, but one worth understanding thoroughly. We'll get to the over-under method shortly.
Yes, the plug. The starting point. The genesis of the wind, you might say. It's a crucial element, wouldn't you agree? As a lug. There's no connection, no power, no purpose to the cord itself. It's just a length of insulated wire. But with the plug, it becomes a conduit, a bridge between the power source and the device. And so, we begin with the plug, holding it gently, preparing it for the winding ritual. We'll delve into some alternative methods later, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to stick with the basics, to master the fundamentals. We'll discuss clockwise versus counterclockwise soon.
So we have the plug in hand. Now what do? We begin the winding process. Slowly, methodically, we loop the cord around our hand. Not too tight, not too loose. Just a comfortable loop, a gentle curve, a gradual bend in the cord. Imagine the cord as a ribbon, flowing smoothly around your hand, creating a neat and orderly coil. Visualize the process. Feel the movement, the subtle shift of the cord as it wraps around your hand, layer upon layer. And remember, there's no rush. We'll return to the importance of a relaxed grip.
The looping. Yes, the looping. A crucial stage in the winding process. Each loop builds upon the last, forming a growing coil, a compact spiral of electrical potential. It's almost hypnotic, watching the cord wind around itself, creating a pattern, a structure. It's a testament to order, to organization, to the human desire to tame the chaos of tangled wires. A simple act, yet so satisfying. We'll reiterate the plug's role in all of this in a moment, in case you've forgotten already.
As we continue looping, we must be mindful of the tension. Too much tension, and the cord might kink. Too little, and the coil will be loose and unwieldy. It's a delicate balance, a subtle interplay of forces. We're striving for a Goldilocks level of tension. Not too tight, not too loose, but just right. It's a sensory experience. Feeling the cord between your fingers, adjusting the pressure, finding the perfect equilibrium. We might consider alternative hand positions later.
Tension. Yes, a critical factor. The proper tension ensures a smooth and even wind, preventing kinks and tangles. It's a matter of finesse, of applying just the right amount of pressure, of feeling the cord respond to your touch. It's a dialogue between you and the cord, a silent communication, a subtle understanding. It's about achieving harmony, balance, and a perfectly wound extension cord. We'll touch on the topic of kinks again later, their causes, and how to avoid them.
And so, we continue, loop after loop, building the coil, creating a compact and manageable bundle of electrical potential. It's a meditative process almost, a quiet moment of reflection, a chance to slow down, to focus on the task at hand, to appreciate the simple act of winding a cord. It's a small victory, a triumph over disorder, a testament to human ingenuity. And all it takes is a little patience, a little care, and a little understanding of the fundamental principles of cord winding. We will cover recommended cord lengths in the next section.
The finished coil. A testament to our efforts, a symbol of order and efficiency, a compact bundle of potential energy, ready to power our devices, to illuminate our homes, to connect us to the world. It's a satisfying sight, a well-wound cord, a testament to the human ability to bring order to chaos. It's a simple act, yet so profound in its implications. Later, we'll also consider different storage solutions for wound extension cords.
Now, when you're looking at the end of your extension cord, the end that plugs into the wall, or perhaps another extension cord, if you're feeling particularly adventurous, you'll notice it has a kind of shape. It's not exactly round, not exactly square, but somewhere in between. We might call it rectangular with rounded edges, or perhaps rounded with rectangular tendencies. It's a subtle distinction, but one worth considering as you begin the process of winding. This shape, whatever we decide to call it, is important because it dictates how the cord naturally wants to bend, and understanding this natural bend is, in a way, the key to a successful wind. Or, perhaps not. Sometimes, things just happen.
Yes, that's a very good point about the shape. It's not something you'd necessarily think about in your day-to-day life, the shape of an electrical plug. But when you're winding an extension cord, it becomes very relevant, wouldn't you say? The way it fits in your hand, the way it turns, it all plays a role. And then there's the texture. smooth plastic, slightly ridged sometimes, depending on the brand and the age of the cord. These seemingly minor details, they add up. They contribute to the overall experience. Of course, the color doesn't really matter, unless you have a strong preference for, say, orange or green.
And let's not forget, the little holes on the sides. Sometimes there are little holes. Are they for gripping? Are they for ventilation? The world may never know. But they're there, and they add to the overall thingness of the plug. Its plug-like qualities, if you will. Sometimes I just sit and ponder these things, like who designed these plugs and why? Was it a long process? Probably not.
Probably not. But still, someone had to think about it. Someone had to decide on the placement of those little holes, the curve of the plastic. It's a design, after all, a very functional design, primarily intended to facilitate the transfer of electrical current. Though, I suppose, one could also use an extension cord as a rope in a pinch. Though that's not recommended. Not at all.
Definitely not recommended. Safety first, always. But back to the winding. You want to avoid kinks, those sharp bends that can damage the wires inside. It's like bending a paperclip back and forth. Eventually, it breaks. The same principle applies to the copper wires within the extension cord, though they are more flexible than a paperclip. Considerably so.
Flexibility is key. And patience. Winding an extension cord is not a race. It's a meditative practice, a quiet moment in the day, a chance to reflect on the simple things, like electricity, and plugs, and the subtle variations in the color orange. One could spend hours contemplating such things.
Absolutely. Hours. Or minutes, depending on your schedule. And the length of the cord, of course. A longer cord naturally takes longer to wind. That's just basic physics, or perhaps common sense. I often find myself wondering about such distinctions. What is physics? What is common sense? Are they intertwined? Perhaps.
Perhaps. And the direction of the wind, clockwise or counterclockwise. Does it even matter? Some say it does, some say it affects the flow of electricity. But I doubt it, after that. It's probably just a matter of personal preference. Or habit. Like which shoe you put on first, left or right. It's a similar dilemma, though less impactful on the flow of electricity. Presumably.
Presumably. Though one never knows. The world is full of mysteries. Like the origins of the little holes in the plug. And the optimal direction for winding an extension cord. These are the questions that keep me up at night. Sometimes. Other times, I sleep quite soundly. It depends on the caffeine intake, primarily. Less than, person 1 greater than. Less than, person 1 greater than. We've been discussing the over-under method, and the alternative, the circular method, for quite a while now, haven't we? And, as I think more about it, it really makes you wonder about the nature of winding things in general. Like, how do we decide which way to wind something? Is it instinctual? Is it learned? I remember watching my grandfather wind a fishing line, very carefully, meticulously, and I wonder if that influenced how I approach winding an extension cord. Probably not, but the thought is there. And sometimes, just thinking about these sorts of things can be, it can be something. It can occupy time, anyway, like we're doing now.
It's true. The act of winding, in its most basic form, is just a repetitive action, isn't it? Over and under, or round and round. It's almost hypnotic, in a way. And you're right, the connection to other winding activities, like winding a fishing line or winding a ball of yarn, it's there, it exists in this vague space of related actions. I've even found myself, on occasion, winding up the dog's leash in a similar fashion, even though it's not strictly necessary. It's just habit, I suppose. Or maybe something deeper. A primal urge to coil and organize. Who knows? These things are rarely, if ever, fully understood. The mysteries of winding.
Thinking about it even further, it extends beyond just cords and lines. We wind clocks, we wind up toys, we even talk about winding down at the end of the day. It's such a common word, wind, but with so many slightly different meanings. It makes you wonder about the origins of language and how these words evolve over time. We could probably spend a whole other podcast just talking about the word wind. Maybe we will, someday. Or maybe not. It's not really that important, in the grand scheme of things.
And then there's the unwinding. Just as important, if not more so. What's the point of winding something if you never intend to unwind it? The release of the stored energy, the unraveling of the carefully coiled material, there's a certain satisfaction to it. Unless, of course, it gets tangled. Then it's just frustrating. But even that frustration, it's a feeling. A rather bland, common feeling, but a feeling nonetheless. It's part of the experience. The complete winding and unwinding cycle.
It's a cycle, yes. Everything is a cycle when you think about it. The seasons, the tides, the winding and unwinding of an extension cord. It's all connected, in a way. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just overthinking things. It's easy to get lost in thought when you're talking about something as mundane as winding an extension cord. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the mundane is where we find the most profound nothingness. The vast emptiness of existence.
And yet, within that nothingness, there's something. A quiet hum of being. The simple act of existing. Breathing in, breathing out. Winding, unwinding. These small, repetitive actions, they fill the void. They give us a sense of purpose, however fleeting. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's all just an illusion. Who can say for sure? It's probably not worth dwelling on, to be honest. It's late, and I'm starting to feel sleepy.
Sleepy. Yes, that sounds pleasant. Sleep. The ultimate unwinding. The release from consciousness. A temporary escape from the endless cycle of winding and unwinding. Just letting go. Drifting off. Into the quiet darkness. Where there is no winding. No unwinding. Just peace. Or something like that.
Something like that. Exactly. A peaceful, quiet nothingness. Like a perfectly wound extension cord, lying still in the darkness. Waiting. For nothing in particular. Just waiting.
Waiting. Yes. That seems appropriate. Just waiting. Less than, person one, greater than. Less than, person one, greater than. So, as we were saying, or rather as we may have alluded to at some point, the over-under method, or the over and under method, depending on your preference, which really doesn't matter, can prevent tangling, theoretically. Or perhaps not. It's more of a hope than a guarantee, really. A bit like hoping for good weather. You might get it, you might not. And the extension cord might tangle, or it might not. The important thing is we've considered it. The over-under method, that is. Or the over and under method. As I said, or implied, it doesn't really matter. Not in the grand scheme of things. The tangling, or lack thereof, is, after all, just a small part of the overall process. A rather insignificant one, if you think about it.
Yes, quite insignificant. And one could spend a significant amount of time discussing the insignificance of the various aspects of extension cord winding. The choice of method, the tightness of the wind, the direction of the wind, all these details which seem so important in the moment, become almost meaningless when you consider the larger picture. Or perhaps not even the larger picture, just the picture in general. The act of winding, the purpose of the cord, the electricity it carries. It's all rather fleeting, like a gentle breeze on a summer afternoon. Pleasant, perhaps, but ultimately inconsequential. Not unlike this conversation, really. We discuss, we elaborate, we meander, but do we truly conclude? Do we arrive at a definitive answer? I think not. Or perhaps we do. It's hard to say.
Indeed, it is hard to say. And perhaps that's the point. Perhaps the lack of a definitive conclusion is the conclusion itself. A sort of anti-conclusion, if you will, a void where certainty should be. A blank canvas upon which we project our own interpretations of proper extension cord winding technique. Or, perhaps not. Perhaps it's just a way to pass the time. To fill the silence with words, however meaningless they may seem. Like grains of sand slipping through our fingers. Each grain insignificant on its own, yet together they form a beach, a vast expanse of sand. Much like this conversation.
A vast expanse of words. Yes, that's a good analogy. Or perhaps not an analogy, more of a comparison. Or perhaps neither. It's simply an observation. A statement of fact. We are using words, many words, to describe a relatively simple task. A task that could be accomplished without any words at all. And yet, here we are talking, or rather droning on, about the intricacies of over-under, or over and under, as if it were the most important thing in the world. Which, of course, it isn't. Not even close. But it is something to talk about. something to fill the void.
The void. Yes, the void. It's a vast and empty space, isn't it? Filled with nothingness. Or perhaps not nothingness. Perhaps it's filled with potential, the potential for something. Or perhaps nothing. It's hard to say. Much like the question of how to properly wind an extension cord. We can discuss it, analyze it, dissect it. But ultimately, does it really matter? Does it change anything? Does it bring us any closer to understanding? Or are we simply going in circles, winding and unwinding our thoughts, like an improperly wound extension cord?
Winding and unwinding. Yes, a fitting metaphor. Or perhaps not a metaphor, more of a simile. Or perhaps neither, just a collection of words, strung together to create the illusion of meaning. An illusion that quickly dissipates like smoke. Or perhaps like fog. A gentle, ethereal fog that obscures the truth. Or perhaps not the truth, just the reality. The reality of the extension cord, lying there, wound or unwound, waiting to be used. Or perhaps not used. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say. And perhaps that's all we need to say. Perhaps the act of saying, of verbalizing, is more important than the content of what is said. The sound of the words, the rhythm of the sentences, the gentle cadence of the conversation, these are the things that truly matter. Or perhaps not. Perhaps they are just as meaningless as the act of winding an extension cord. A futile attempt to impose order on a chaotic universe. A universe indifferent to our efforts, our struggles. Our words.
Our words. Yes. Our words. They fill the silence. They occupy the space. They create a presence that is fleeting, ephemeral, like a whisper in the wind, the gentle, or perhaps the gentle hum of an appliance, plugged into an extension cord, wound or unwound. It hardly matters, does it?
Does it? I suppose we'll never truly know. Or perhaps we will. Eventually. But not tonight. Not in this podcast. There's always more to unravel. Or perhaps not. Less than, person one greater than. Less than, person one greater than. Thank you for joining us. Let go of the day and drift softly into rest. There's nothing more to do, nothing more to think about. Just this moment, just your breath, just peace. Sleep well.
Good night and sweet dreams.